So, how does the country feel about a second impeachment trial? The majority of Americans, 56% of them, say Mr. Trump should be convicted in his upcoming trial. That's according to a new CBS News poll. So, Anthony Salvanto has been tracking what Americans are saying about the trial and the state of U.S. politics, and he is joining us now on the phone. Anthony, as we've been talking about this impeachment, we have been reminding people that though it's called an impeachment trial, this is a political vehicle. And so when it comes to politics, the way people feel about it matters. It matters to politicians. So you guys have been asking people how they feel about this. What are your biggest takeaways from this survey with regards to the impeachment trial?
Hey, good morning, Anne-Marie. You're right. It does matter. And that number you named at the outset there, that 56% who would like to see the Senate convict former President Trump heading into this. One of the things that strikes you about that is it hews very much, slightly higher than what the election results were. And now it's among all Americans. It's not just among voters. But what's interesting about that is that the split is still very much along partisan lines. And you see a very large majority of Democrats would like to see a conviction, and those who would describe this trial, to your point about public opinion, describe it as defending democracy, as holding the former president, in their view, accountable. But then you get to the folks who are opposed to seeing the Senate come down with a conviction, and again, predominantly Republicans there, and they see the trial as a distraction. They see it as unnecessary, even. But there's one extra beat here I would add, Anne-Marie, and that is that when I talk about those partisan lines, I should note that there is, and you're going to see this or hear of this throughout the poll, there is a portion of Republicans, and it's about 1 in 5, sometimes 1 in 4, depending on the measure, who do, in this case, look for a conviction. It's 17%. Not an overwhelming number. So when we talk about splits within the Republican Party, you're talking about sort of lopsided splits in that regard, Anne-Marie.
So, some people believe that, once President Trump left the White House, then his influence over the GOP would sort of start to diminish. But based on your polling, what does that say? What is his influence over the Republican Party, at least at this point?
Yeah, that's the really compelling part of this is as the Republicans, and of course, we all watched over the last few weeks while Republican members of Congress were debating, in some respects, that very question, right? How much influence, how much loyalty, if you will, ought they be showing to the former president? So we asked that. We asked the rank and file, is it important for the party to be loyal to former President Trump? And there's a sizable percentage, and it's nearly half who say that it's very important to them for the party to be loyal to President Trump, and another quarter who say that it's somewhat important. So you're going to get that number that's over 2/3 who still feel it's important for the party to be loyal. And there again, we have that sort of lopsided split, if you will, where the bulk of Republicans are still seeing that loyalty to the president. In fact, then you take that specifically on impeachment, and they say that any Republican who votes to convict the former president they would see it as an act of disloyalty rather than an act of principle. So, the shorthand sometimes among the punditry is just, is it Donald Trump's party? The answer is a little bit more complicated than that, but for the bulk of Republicans, they do say that they look for that loyalty. And I would add this, Anne-Marie, we asked if the former president formed his own political party, would you join it? And here again, we see these same breakdowns where a third of current Republicans say yes, they would go a separate party and go join one that the former president started, and just over another third say maybe. So you've got this 2/3 who would at least consider doing that, Anne-Marie.
So, Anthony, before I let you go, you also asked about these baseless conspiracy theories connected to QAnon. There were, a number of people who ransacked the Capitol building that said they were taking their cues from QAnon. I'm wondering what people had to say about QAnon and its ties to American politics.
So we asked about that, you're right. And, we saw some partisan breaks in that. The bulk of people, we should say at the top, either haven't heard too much about it or feel that what they have heard is certainly or probably false. So we're not talking about overwhelming percentages here. What you do find is that among Republicans, there was 23% who said that they had both heard of it and felt that those ideas, those claims, if you will, are certainly or probably true. Again, not a majority, but they are there, and much lower among the Democrats, and much lower also among independents. So again, not a majority, but there is a proportion. Now, I would add for larger context, Anne-Marie, really quickly, that there's a larger discussion you and I have had as well in previous polls about the way partisans view each other. And one thing we added here is, do you see the other side as political opposition? You just don't get what you want? Or are they enemies? Are they a threat to your way of life? And there are the majority of Republicans right now who view Democrats as enemies. And there are sizable, although less than a majority number of Democrats who view Republicans the same way, which speaks to the not more than division in politics right now, but really that perspective that people have on each other.
That makes me sad, Anthony. We have so much work to do to move towards unity again. Anthony Salvanto, even though you made me sad with those last numbers, it's always a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.